Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Hey, it's Austin James. If you're like me, trying to live your best life while living with diabetes, you can relate to worrying if you're doing a good job managing your diabetes. I use the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor to get real-time glucose readings and see the impact of every meal and activity to make better decisions. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor can help me live life with diabetes on my own terms, and it gives me more time for the things I love, like being a dad and a musician. Now this is progress. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Looking for a pickup truck to get just about anything done? Look no further. The Chevy Silverado EV isn't just the most powerful Silverado ever, with next-level towing capability and technology. It also offers game-changing versatility with the available multi-flex midgate and tailgate, which means Silverado EV helps you carry large, bulky, and oddly shaped items up to nearly 11 feet in length. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Visit Chevrolet.com to learn more.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello everybody and welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. My name's Dan Kennett. We don't have Simon Brundish this week, and I know you're all just going to instantly reach for the off switch, because he's the only reason why you all listen to this show. But we are going to soldier on without Si, because I have none dialing in from his tropical island paradise. It's very late at night there. It's Mr. Phil Barter. Evening, Phil.
How are we doing, boys? We good?
I am good, mate. It's been fortunate for you not to be in the UK this weekend.
Yes, I can imagine. I hope everyone's safe and recovered from the storms at the weekend.
Yes, it's pretty wild at times. But we do have our other member of the team, sports analyst at the Times. It's Hamzah and Dr Barts. Evening, Hamzah.
Good evening, and likewise, yeah. I hope everyone's hasn't had to deal with the really terrible weather, and hopefully nothing's fallen their house or their cars or anything.
No. Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And the big news, Hamzah, is where did the Times of London send you last midweek?
Oh, I went to St James's Park via Bratislava and Vienna and Manchester, all in one go. Had to get up very early in East Slovakia.
How many corporate lunches in those four countries?
None, actually. No lunches.
Lies, all lies. And what is the food like at St James's in the press box, by the way?
The chips were outstanding, I must say that. And there was lovely lemon drizzle at half time. Again, even if I did not like anything, I wouldn't say, because I think that would be ungrateful, because we're quite lucky that we get to go to these matches and they put food on for us. I must say the lemon drizzle cake was very nice.
Very excellent. Lemon drizzle cake with chips. What a time to be alive. Anyway, we are here. We would have been talking about two games, but we only have the one because of Storm Dara. And maybe we'll touch on the events of the weekend a little bit at the end, but we're going to major on the Newcastle United 3, Liverpool 3. And Hamzah, I'm going to come to you first, no side this week. The Liverpool selection and the small amounts of rotation that we've seen and continues into this game. I think it was another 2 changes this time.
Yeah, that's right. Just need to pull up. I'm just going to grab the team. So Keller was in goal. There has just been an hour ago a little intimation that Alisson might be in the squad tomorrow. So for Girona, but we'll see. And from right to left, it was Gerald Quansah at right back, a bit of a, Joe Gomez at right centre back, Van Dijk at left centre back, and Robertson at left back. Just given the state of the injuries in the team, this is probably what you actually sort of expect now. But Trent Alexander-Arnold is back, so we should see him start tomorrow or today for listening on Tuesday. Then in midfield, bit of a tweak. McAllister, Jones, and Gravenberch was the midfield three, and ahead of them, Salah, Gakpo, and Diaz. A few changes.
The two rotational choices were the two central attacking positions again, which seems to be the common theme, isn't it? So it was Nunez and Jones in for Szoboszlai and Diaz.
I think.
Can we talk about the? What?
I think keeping Szoboszlai fresh. I guess we'll come back to this in the game, but we've seen in a few matches now when Szoboszlai has come on and he's been fresh, the energy that he adds to the team and the intensity in the press is an enormous sort of boost to have from the bench. So all from the start of the match, but just making sure that he's topped up, he's fresh, and given his history, which Simon's talked about before in terms of minutes played, keeping him fresh is a real physical weapon to have and unleash on opponents, especially with the press, especially when you're chasing matches, and you need a little bit of cover to support the midfielders. Let's say if one's booked or one's got a knock or whatever's happening, and it helps facilitate Trent on the right as well. So really important play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll talk about Zobo when he came on, but I think we called him basically starting in this, the City game, which he did, and he was outstanding. But I think, but now we got obviously McAllister's got an enforced absence through suspension in two competitions, I believe. So he's got a one game versus Girona, and he's got another game against Fulham on the weekend. So he's effectively going to have a 2-week break, McAllister. So which is quite interesting in the middle of the season.
Barts might be able to offer a bit more sort of insight on this, but I think that means that he'll have to do his sort of top-up work in training, right? Because he'll now, if he literally isn't playing, he'll have a trough in his workload.
Yeah, they'll have to increase his load in training to a degree, but he won't get the uncontrollable knocks and niggles that you would get from a game. So they'll just have to keep him topped up and increases. He might do some extra sessions in training, that kind of thing.
Shuttle runs.
Yeah, they'll make the games that he's in, they'll change the components so that it's harder for him to work at. Other than the ones who've played or being a less constrained or restricted set of training. So Hamzah's right. They can't just let him drift off for 2 weeks because he'll come back and probably get broken. So whereas you like to Robbo will be on a very light training at the moment because he's the only left back we've got pretty much because we need Joe playing centre half. So he would be in a modified training the other way just to make sure he ticks over. He knows what the patterns of play are for the next game, but he's not really doing anything too strenuous, if you like.
Yeah. So, can we Bars, come to you first on this one? One of the big decisions in the match is he basically is the positioning of Gomez and Quansah. I mean, not many people saw this happening in the game before. What was the game before when Quansah came on as sub?
City,
yeah. And obviously he played the end of that game in the right back position, which he hadn't done before. But then he obviously sort of keeps the setup as well with Gomez at the centre and Jarell at right back. What was your reading of this? What was your reason and the logic of that decision?
I think it was fundamentally he didn't want to change the centre. So he got partnerships working. He'd got Gomez and Van Dijk had completed a good 90 together with Graver in front. So that diamond, if you like, with the goalkeeper, he didn't really want to change that. I think he's very much like if his centre's strong, you can carry a bit in the wider areas. And I think that would have been his logic. He also probably would have said, okay, so I'm going to lose something by it not being Joe at right back. I mean, let's forget it's not Trent, right? But the backup right back is nothing compared to Trent. Am I going to gain more by keeping Joe in the centre half where he's played well and put in Quansah, who's not going to offer me anything going forward, or swap it around to give me something in right back, but I'd destabilise the centre. And I think he just went with the former, which is you wanted to keep the central area strong. And you went, do you know what? I'm not going to build him a free right back because he backed Quansah to be good defensively because he is a defender. What actually turned out was that Quansah didn't really know where to be from the start as a fullback and was getting caught in between two stools, and particularly with on the ball, he just didn't know what to do with the ball. He didn't know what the picture in his mind. He's not experienced enough in that area to know this is what it's going to look like with a line next to me playing fullback. He's used to it with the whole pitch in front of him, and that's a very different thing, particularly when you've got Gordon running at you. And you've got pressure from one of their eights as well. So they were particularly targeting him to close him down. So his pitches kept changing and he just couldn't get his touch going. And so he shuffled it back to Gomez. And Gomez was the same. He's okay in that bureau, but they were pressurising him as well. So that was a real big sweet spot for Newcastle at the time. But I think to answer your original question, we know Slot likes to keep the central areas nice and strong. I think he in his head he worked out I will gain more by keeping my central area strong and risking it with the wide areas, and that's what he went with. It was a gamble. You can argue whether it paid off or not, but yeah, that's in my opinion what he went with.
Hamzah, same thing, Christian. You anything to add to that?
Yeah, I get the other thing, I guess, is specifically with the pressing, as in usually you think that defending as a right back is easier because, you know, that old sort of thing about the defender is a touchline. You can push an opponent towards a touchline that pushes them out of play. But the inverse of that is if you're in possession and you're used to playing in the middle, you have a bit more space and an ability, if you're right-footed, to always move right as long as you need to. But when you're positioned as right back and you're on the touchline and you're being pressed, you don't have the option anymore because you go further right, you just go out of play. So then you're thinking, oh, I've got to go left. And if you're going left, you're now on your weak foot heading towards your own goal. And that's something you definitely don't want to do. And just with the specific pressure of Gordon, who is a really good presser, very intense, and he's good at moving the ball forwards, that's quite difficult. And adding that in conjunction with the demands placed on the players to try and play through the press in the first half, I think Quansah just found it quite difficult. But you can understand why, because the specific pressures that Newcastle put on him and the specific tactical differences of playing at right back and when trying to play out under pressure, it's just a bit more difficult.
Let's talk about that Newcastle team, Hamzah. So Isak was recovered from his knock. Jacob Murphy was on the right, and then they went with their most, they went with a very physical, combative midfield, didn't they?
Yeah.
Of Tonali, Guimaraes, and Joe Linton. What did you see the Newcastle setup and game plan in this as?
I thought that the midfield is particularly interesting, right? So Tonali has recently just been trialled as a deep midfielder, and he continued in this role, and I thought it was good. But what I liked, what I was impressed with, was how they tried to sort of deal with Gravenberch. They noticed that we play through him, no surprises there. And what they did, they used Isak first of all. So when he was pressing, he just made sure his cover shadow, i.e. Gravenberch was behind him, so he was covering the pass from the Liverpool centre-backs into Gravenberch with the way that he pressed, curving his runs, that sort of stuff. At the same time, you also had Joe Linton playing really, really sort of intense man-to-man, holding the shirt, grappling, jostling, trying to put off Gravenberch in any way he could.
But that's a bit of a physical mismatch, isn't it? Joe Linton's one of the most physically imposing players in the whole league, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. And in conjunction with that, they also had, when Gravenberch received the ball with his back to goal, that was a pressing trigger as well. So in those moments, you would see Isak would back press, and he would turn around and try and close a space in front of Gravenberch so he couldn't pass back the centre-backs. Joe Linton would already be on him, and Tonali would jump up and be hyper-aggressive as well. So they tried to spring this trap in the middle, and they blocked out the middle quite well as well. And that kept Liverpool pinned in for the first 10 minutes at least, and struggling to actually create. There are moments where Liverpool thought, okay, we'll go long. They've pressed high, they've locked on man-to-man, but that didn't work. They were losing the duels in the final third. They weren't winning the second balls. The spacing wasn't quite right. Ideally, if you go long, you want to have someone contesting the first ball, first of all, but you also need some players in proximity to pick up the second ball. If you don't do that, you can't sort of build and develop through the thirds. You can't hold up play. You just sort of give them the ball back and you're a little bit open because you're a bit stretched out. So that was a problem in the first 10, 15 minutes. The sort of response to that was to send the fullbacks even further forward, overload the midfield, stretch them a bit more, create more space for Curtis Jones, and he was in the pockets. And he was dropping them really nicely to receive. And then that's when Liverpool began to flow. But yeah, the first 10 minutes were defined by this press by the Newcastle midfield on Gravenberch and Liverpool's difficulty to work their way out and deal with it.
This episode is brought to you by Disney Plus. Game on, because ESPN Plus content is available on Disney Plus. You can watch your favorites from Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus together like never before. With ESPN Plus, unwrap a full day of NBA action on Christmas Day. Tip off the festivities with the Spurs and Knicks, followed by the Mavs and Timberwolves. Then a clash between the Lakers and Warriors, followed by the 76ers and Celtics. And finally, the Nuggets face off against the Suns, all streaming December 25th. Then with Hulu, watch the terrifying sci-fi thriller Alien Romulus, where a group of young space colonizers come face to face with the ultimate horror. And on Disney Plus, follow the adventures of 4 kids across the galaxy as they meet unlikely allies and enemies in Star Wars Skeleton Crew, starring Jude Law. All of these and more now streaming and available with a bundle subscription. Visit disneyplus.com for details. Terms apply.
So, you want to be a marketer. It's easy. You just have to score a ton of leads and figure out a way to turn them all into customers. Plus, manage a dozen channels, write a million blogs, and launch 100 campaigns all at once. When that's done, simply make your socials go viral and bring in record profits. No sweat. Okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. But with HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools, launching benchmark-breaking campaigns is easier than ever. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
This year, Santa's bringing the power of Energizer into his workshop.
Whoa, the Energizer Bunny's got so much power.
Wait, he's powered up all the toys. I think that means we're done for the year.
I love this bunny.
He's the hardest working helper the North Pole has ever seen. And he wants all your gifts to have the power of the #1 longest lasting AA battery. So this holiday season, stock up on Santa's and the elves' favorite battery, Energizer Ultimate Lithium.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Nice. Okay, just before we explore that first half in a bit more detail, but let's do that match summary.
Yeah, no problem. So, top level stats. It's interesting this week, I have to say. I mean, stats are always interesting, right? We're on a stat show, but this one's a little bit. 56% possession to us, which again, if you on your first watch, you might not consider we did dominate possession, so that's good for us. We had 720 touches to their 560. Again, more than that. Penalty box touches, we had 36 to their 21. Wow. Field tilt was 52 to 48. So that's where you start seeing the game become a bit more even. and you can start thinking about where we had possession and what we were doing with it. Total shots, again, becomes more even. They had more shots than we did, 17-16. But we had, they outshot us on target, 65. We had more shots in the 6-yard box, 3-1, and more shots in the penalty box as well, 14-9. So 3 big chances, 2. XG, this varied so much. I was doing it.
It's quite nice. They couldn't agree, could they? All the
people agree on about 4 or 5 different shots. One of Darwin's got chalked off, then got put back on again. The Cody header was classed as a shot, then taken off, then put back on again. So, people won't understand what that means, but it means you have to continually rerun the pack because the XG is all over the place. But it ended up being about 1.98 to 2.12 in Newcastle's favour. The post shot, we were better, 3.45 to their 2.5. EPV, we created more threat, 1.6 to their 1.2, to be fair. They converted more threat to XG at about 180, just short of 180%.
Well, I think one of the reasons for that we'll come on to is errors. I mean, I think defensive errors is a big way of letting the opposition to be at threat. Yeah. And
we'll come into one of the massive channels of their threat where we start looking into that a bit more. Long passes, 46-49. So they actually have more long passes than us. And breaking it down, I mean, the halves are there for people to look at. Second half, we were markedly, just have a look at the shots actually. Yeah, we outshot them second half, outshot them on target, outshot them at, the XG 1.7 to 1.2 in second half, and threat as well, 1.3 to 0.9. So it is a bit of a halves story. Game state, interesting one, because I don't think any team actually properly got into a game state, if that makes any sense.
It was a throwback, this game, wasn't it? Bit of a throwback.
This was basketball, and not a fun basketball either, because I wasn't convinced we had the quality of player to actually come out the right side of it. But yeah, so I mean, you can have a little game state, but I think at one point when we were finally leading, we let them have 0.3 XG, but we didn't create any XG ourselves.
Yeah, it's the first time that we've really seen this season where an opponent has got a lot when the game is tied. So they were 1.3 to 1 XG when the game was tied.
Yeah, and they were converted through at 120% to our 65 when the game was drawn.
Yeah,
which that's almost double the threat conversion. That's a bit of a problem. This is also coming on to the first time this season that we've lost to Monte Carlo. So Newcastle were, let's be fair, 42% to win the game, and we were 36.
Yeah.
And the draw was 20%. The ball was 2-2. So with the next one would have been could have been 2-1 to us, could have been 3-2 to them. But yeah, so generally speaking, I think the quality of XG chances always weighs the probability of an outcome. And the scoreline is slightly more nuanced, but yeah. So overall, a very mixed bag. But I think the field tilt kind of gives you a little bit of a story, and our lack of ability to control their XG production and threat to XG conversion at differing game states was also the first time for this season we've not been able to do that.
Yeah, super stuff. Hamzah, so you've already covered a bit about what you liked about what Newcastle were doing, but as from my perspective is that I think it was the absence of Konate I think was huge because he's been in such prime form this season, but also the absence of Bradley. I think if one of those plays in this system, I think it's a lot better than it actually was for the first hour. But I think it's the absence of Quansah, and then absence of any the senior right backs, and then with Quansah having to fill in, if you like. I don't think that's harsh to say he was filling in that role. It just created instability across our whole defensive unit from, and it was almost like Verge where was then overcompensating. He was shifting more to his right. To he wasn't doing his normal role, and then the midfield with the pivot in front, and then the goalkeeper behind. Everybody seemed to be affected by the instability just caused by a couple of injuries there.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you look to the pass maps as well, there's actually...
Yeah, they were poor, weren't they?
Even on the right side in particular, there's a lot of looseness there. And I'd absolutely agree that losing Konate was probably... That was the theme when I wrote my rat triple. That was the thing that stuck out to me most. It was how different Liverpool are and how they defend and how they attack without Konate there.
Yeah.
Because what he does, he's a facilitator. He allows Bradley or Alexander-Arnold to be elsewhere. Not necessarily always forwards, but as in somewhere else to do attacking stuff. That could be in infield, it could be out wide, it could be in the 8 space. Sort of depends, right? But we got none of that in this match in the first half because of the difficulties Gomez and Quansah faced. And because of that, Salah was largely isolated. Bring pass maps, and you see lots of vertical passes that were meant to be snapped into Salah, and they were cut out. And the few occasions where he did receive the ball, there are situations where he had a man on his back, he just controlled it and he's reaching with his leg, and it's a hard situation for him to keep possession and then build around him, because ideally you want someone running onto him there or offering support for a short pass, so then either they can break in behind or just sort of build up a bit of momentum and rhythm in midfield and then control the middle third and then move into the final third, moving from your build phase into your creative one. There was none of that really. Without Konate, like you said, I think your assessment's bang on actually. Van Dijk was overcompensating, but as well, I think you have to give credit to Isak, who was an enormous handful, and Gordon as well. Just their directness can be quite...
I guess say, for the record, Anthony Gordon is an absolute pain in the arse. He's a pest. He's right. He is. He's a wasp. He's like, you've got a spaceman's helmet on, and he's a wasp inside the helmet, basically. He's. Oh God, you can see why we really wanted him, I think, because he's so physical, he's so combative, he's fast as anything. There's one run he went past Graham, who's not, as Saya always says, Grav is twitchy, i.e. he's quick off the mark and he's pretty fast all round. But he just went past Grav like he didn't exist at one point. I haven't seen anybody to do that to Grav all season. But yeah, Gordon is just a pain in the arse, Barts, isn't he?
He is. Just to add on what Hamzah was saying, if you look at the pass maps, we're so narrow. We're within the two. We're not really using the outside channel.
There's nothing in the wing spaces. Nothing.
There's nothing. And Mo is getting a connection from Gomez. That's pretty much it. The rest of it's all wide. So it's just not. Yeah. If you look at facing, which Hamzah mentioned earlier on, Mac and CJ are basically in the same space, which generally speaking we have support on the left and right in front. And I've kind of Darwin. The problem is for me is Darwin's positioning. He's over in the left hand side, which it just.
I had to do a double take when I first looked at the stats pack. I was like, where is he?
Yeah,
where is Nunez statistically in this pack?
Yeah, it's a bit of a. It's a weird one, but that when you rewatch it, he is literally not out front. He's off doing other stuff. So, no, I think, and also to emphasise your Gordon point, if you look at the EPV production for Newcastle, and you look at first half particularly, that left half space channel is from halfway 12, 15, 11% of Newcastle's EPV comes in Gordon's channel. And everywhere else is 1, 2, 5%. But that left half space channel where Gordon basically ran us ragged. He carries the most threat. Second half, we deal with it because he drops down to 4, 4 and 0. We sort of shut that one.
Yeah, so basically, the bottom line, Trent come on and transform the right side, don't they? So, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But it's that first half, you can just see that so clearly. That's where he's playing. He murdered a guy. He was in between Gomez and Quansah. Literally the channel between the two. You can see that for the average off-ball positioning of those two. So, yeah.
And I think one of the biggest consequences of the team being a little bit jittery and a bit out of sync because of the injuries and the changes is it did manifest itself in defensive errors and also just generally poor defensive performance. I mean, this season has been built on defence. We've got the best defence in the league in terms of actual goals conceded and expected goals conceded by a considerable distance. And we've talked continually about how we've controlled the game state all season. We didn't do it in this game. And I did look at this before the last show, and I forgot that it was in my notepad, but never made it to air. Is that at that point we had the second fewest defensive errors in the league, behind only Nottingham Forest had made fewer defensive errors than us. And you think about we're a team at the top of the league, we play with a lot of the ball, and we do take risks, and to have that just really testament to how solid the team has been. And obviously in this game, we make 3, which I think is actually quite generous. I mean, you could conceivably make a case for 4 or 5. Gomez, and Opta gave 2 to Gomez and only 1 to Kelleher, which, again, you could, the second goal, you could conceivably see that as a defensive error, because, just lets it go straight through him. So, but yeah, it wasn't just the actual ones which ended up in the Opta notebook, but there was a lot of other stuff that was things were just going wrong.
Yeah, the synchronicity was not right. Grab has become pivotal to our play, and as Hamzah alluded to, they did an exceptional job at front and back, marking him, pressing him, however we want to do, set a trap around him. So even if you're playing a limited right back, his out ball, if he can't hit the line, is into the 6. Well, they stop that. So therefore, he has to try a difficult ball down the line, or he has to try a ball splitting into to try and find CJ and Mac. So he's going to make an on-ball error. And then because he's double-teamed, they're countering him, he's more than likely going to make a follow-up defensive error, although it's not flagged for Opta, but it's because he's out of position. It's just, I thought we were very jittery down that entire side. And also when it also comes back to our point about where was Nunez on the maps, is if you need an out ball, you need to find your 9, and he holds the ball, gives it a couple of seconds, and we can then counter. We didn't have that. So there was no outlet, or we couldn't find Mum on the right. We couldn't find Cody on the left, and Darwin wasn't holding the centre. So the pressure, they allowed Quansah to have the ball, and the pressure just built on him, and they just kept nicking it off him, because Robbo's touch didn't have a lot in the first half, to be frank. So yeah, I think you're right. There was a lot of little bits here and there. The passing wasn't quite right, wasn't crisp. Kev playing out from the back wasn't his usual. He was rushed on a few occasions and mishit them. So yeah, I think it was all kind of led to this uncertainty. And we've done this to sides where we've created the uncertainty. We've pressed them high, and we've got a couple of early shots off and got a goal, and then the game goes. Newcastle were in our box in the first 3 minutes, which again is something we just don't let people do. A number of times I've said, we have a cordon around the box, we don't let you pass into our box. They've done that three times in the first 7 minutes. It was just a crazy way for us to start a game away from home.
No, it was. Hamzah, so Newcastle do take the lead, but it's not with it's a goal, a very, very fine goal, a very well-struck shot. Up there with the Hudson-Odoi and the other one I'm trying to think of, but can't remember now. Another banger from outside the box that we've conceded this season. What did you see on that goal, and how preventable or not did you see it?
That's a good question. I think from what I remember, the sequence built up from left to centre for Newcastle. So Lewis Hall came in field, and Liverpool were trying to press up, but they hadn't pressed up as an entire unit. So Nunez and Salah were up, and there's a big gap between, I think it's Guimaraes on the ball, and the next player that's coming along, which in this case was Curtis Jones. So Curtis Jones jumps on Shaw. Shaw passes it into Bruno Guimaraes, and at that point, McAllister's trying to make up ground. He's trying to press, but because he's a bit slow, he's sprinting into the press. As in, when I say he's a bit slow, I mean he's not quite where he wants to be, so he's trying to make up for it. And by trying to make up for it, he sprints in. And when a player sees that you're sprinting in at a very high speed and you've committed to it, you can try and just feint, and they won't be able to decelerate in time. And that's what Guimaraes does. And suddenly, he's now able to play a pass straight onto the back line. They're able to do this usually from the wide areas in the first half. They had a few opportunities where Isak was able to dribble infield, but usually it came from Lewis Hall on the left, or maybe Gordon on the left, taking a deeper position, then just clipping a pass around the corner on the left, allowing Isak to either run and meet the ball or get the ball and then dribble infield. There's one particular thing where Isak, that is, crossed the ball across the 6-yard box and Van Dijk had to clear. But this is a bit different. This is an actual pass from the midfield onto the back line. And I think when Isak receives the ball, Van Dijk is probably thinking, great, instead of letting it roll across him and taking it on his left foot and then pushing off, which would have been difficult for Isak because Van Dijk would have had the momentum there and that would have taken him towards goal, but Van Dijk might have been able to nick it off him. He's moved back inside and he's decelerated. And at that point, Van Dijk's probably thinking, all right, super. He's moving away from goal. I now just have to reorientate my body and we're in an okay-ish position. And then he just smacks it in. And it's a scorching effort. It really, really flew. In that situation, I do feel for the keeper a little bit. I think the general rule is you shouldn't concede from outside the box. But the pace that was struck out really just took everyone by surprise. He took it early. He got that little bit of separation from Van Dijk, created that little bit of space by decelerating and moving to his right. Really smart move.
So, Ty's not on the show. He can't make it for family reasons tonight, but he was very, 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 very unhappy with Virgil on this goal. So, Bart or Hamzah, can either of you tell the listeners what Ty was so unhappy about? Or did you not agree?
No, I think his body position, Virgil's body position, wasn't correct. So I always say sometimes that Virgil was not reactive enough in certain situations. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but there were situations where if Virgil had done this a bit quicker, the shot where he wouldn't have got the shot off. And the only option there, I think, should have been to shut him down, not to just go, right, he's shifted onto there, we can deal with the shot. Because the grab was out of the game, I think there wasn't a 6 in front. But having said that, do I think Virgil would have done better? Yes, he could have done slightly better. The shot is only 0.26 post shot. That's not a good shot.
It's because it's in the centre of the goal, yeah.
Yeah, I personally think more of the blame is on Kev. And from that distance, he's not unsighted. I'm really surprised he didn't get his hand up. He had enough time to get his hand up. If you look at the way, I think, Darth, you put a cricket catcher, didn't you, where he caught it in a split second, but or it might have been sorry. There was more than enough time between the ball being shot and it reaching the area in which
for a pro goalkeeper,
I guess for a pro goalkeeper, I personally think he should have saved that. Could Virgil have shut the shot down? Yes, but I think Kev should also have dealt with that shot because we have a long history of saying, do you know what, shoot from the area because our keeper will save it. So there's a bit, do you know what I mean? If that's ingrained in your psyche as a defender, and then your keeper doesn't save it, I'm not sure what you're supposed to do. But I think some of it, Virgil probably should have shot down better. But I personally would suggest that Kev should deal with that.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. sportsocialpodcast.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
All right, we're all set for the party. I've trimmed the tree, hung the mistletoe, and paired all those weird-shaped knives and forks with the appropriate cheeses. And I plugged in the Bartesian.
Bartesian?
It's a home cocktail maker that makes over 60 premium cocktails, plus a whole lot of seasonal favorites, too. I just got it for $50 off. So, how about a Cosmopolitan or a mistletoe margarita?
I'm thirsty.
Watch. I just pop in a capsule, choose my strength, and...
Wow, it's beginning to feel more seasonal in here already.
If your holiday party doesn't have a bartender, then you become the bartender. Unless you've got a Bartesian, because Bartesian crafts every cocktail perfectly in as little as 30 seconds. And I just got it for $50 off.
'Tis the season to be jollier.
Add some holiday flavor to every celebration with the sleek, sophisticated home cocktail maker, Bartesian. Pick up your phone and shake it to get $50 off any cocktail maker. Yes, you heard me. Shake your phone and get $50 off. Don't delay.